Grammar Module 4, Plural and Possessive Nouns. By studying these topics, you will be able to accurately place apostrophes in your writing. Let's start out by looking at plural nouns. Most of the time, when you want to express that more than one of something exists, you simply add an S or an ES to the noun, like trees or churches. These are examples of plural nouns. Some words are more challenging to make plural. For example, if the noun ends with a Y, then you would have to look at the previous letter to determine how to make the noun plural. If the letter previous to the Y is a vowel, such as in the nouns valley and delay, then you simply add an S to the end. If the letter previous to the Y is a consonant, such as in the nouns country and secretary, then you replace the Y with an IES. Note that this does not apply to proper names like Kelly or Kennedy. When a word is hyphenated, the principal noun is the word that is made plural. There is a clear principal word in hyphenated words like mayors-elect or mothers-in-law. In addition, plural numbers, letters, and degrees are made plural simply with the addition of an S. For example, 1900s, ABCs, PhDs. Regardless of how the noun is spelled, when made plural, one rule applies. An apostrophe is never used to represent that the noun is plural. Let's turn our attention to possessive nouns now. What's the difference between a plural and a possessive noun? Well, they sound the same because they both have an S sound at the end. But they look different because possessive nouns have apostrophes. So it's important to understand the difference between plural and possessive nouns. Plural nouns indicate that you have more than one noun. That is, you have more than one person, place, thing, or concept. Possessive nouns are used to show ownership. Normally, one noun shows ownership over another noun in the sentence. Here you can see an example of how one noun possesses another noun. The cat's tail was dyed green by the nasty child. Here the tail belongs to the cat. When we were examining plural nouns, we mentioned that a hyphenated noun that is made plural, meaning that there is more than one, is done so by adding an S to the principal word. As an example, if there was more than one mother-in-law, then this would be made plural by adding an S to the word mother. However, if we only have one mother-in-law, and she possesses something, such as a dress, then we would simply add an apostrophe and an S to the end of the hyphenated words to show ownership, just like any other noun. So, the mother-in-law's dress would be the correct terminology, as shown. Of course, if we have more than one mother-in-law, and each of them has a dress, then we would say mothers-in-law's dresses. And that is a mouthful, for sure. Using the preposition of to show possession in the case of inanimate objects is generally preferred, such as the edge of the cliff and the make of the car. Be cautious when using the conjunction and while showing ownership of two nouns. Do the nouns jointly own something, or do they each own something? This makes a difference in placing the apostrophe. Nike and Adidas are competitors. If we were to discuss their logos, clearly they would independently have their own logos. When there is separate ownership, as in this case, both nouns need an apostrophe, Nike's and Adidas logos. On the other hand, if the nouns jointly own something, then only the second noun is given the apostrophe. For example, if Lisa and Jane have a joint presentation, then only Jane receives an apostrophe, Lisa and Jane's presentation. Consider the sentence, "The tiger teeth needed to be cleaned by the veterinarian." It is important to look for possessive construction first. This is usually accomplished by locating two nouns together in a sentence. The first noun will show ownership to the second noun, tiger and teeth. We can check that we really do have ownership when we reverse the nouns using the preposition of, as in teeth of the tiger. The word that follows of is the ownership word, so that is the word that requires the apostrophe and the S. The tiger's teeth needed to be cleaned by the veterinarian. Sometimes the ownership word, or possessive noun, already has an S, either because it is plural, two tigers, or because it ends with an S, Louis. If there is an S already, the easiest way to handle this would be to simply add the apostrophe and omit the S. The tiger's teeth needed to be cleaned by the veterinarian. Louis's teeth needed to be cleaned by the veterinarian. Let's look at a second example. Jeremy won the game purely based on beginner's luck. In this example, you can see that beginners and luck appear together. Upon reversing the nouns to luck of a beginner, we can confirm that there is possession, and we also note that beginner is the ownership word. Because beginner is not plural and does not have an S at the end, you simply add an apostrophe and an S. In this next example, again you would need to look for possessive construction, or two nouns in a sentence. The girls' soccer team was the finest team at the college. Here you can see that girls and soccer team appear together in the sentence. If we use the preposition of and reverse the nouns, we have the soccer team of the girls. We can see that we indeed have possession here, and that the ownership word is girls, not girl. Because the ownership word is plural, we just add an apostrophe. The girls' soccer team was the finest team at the college.